At 34, my name was Elara Vance, but to my family, I was just a number. 312,852 cents to be. That was the running total in a secret spreadsheet I called the Vance Ledger, the price of 10 years of their love. Every time my phone buzzed, the number grew. Today it was another $15,000 for my brother's latest failed dream. As I stared at the cold hard figures on the screen, I realized I wasn't a daughter or a sister anymore. I was their personal ATM, and my account was about to be permanently. Before I share how I did it, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button, because if you've ever felt taken for granted by family, trust me, you'll want to hear what happened. The champagne was still cold in my hand when my phone buzzed. Lake Union sparkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, and I'd just closed a deal that would set up 3 college dropouts for life. Their startup was worth 8 figures now, thanks to me, thanks to Vance Wealth Management, my creation, my sanctuary. I should have let it go to voicemail. Elara, sweetheart. Mom's voice dripped honey over razor wire. I hate to bother you at work, but Leo needs our help. My stomach clenched. I set down the champagne and opened my laptop, fingers already typing the password to a file I'd named the Vance Ledger. Row after row of transactions stared back at me. 10 years, $312,000 and counting. It's just $15,000, she continued, for a commercial kitchen. He's finally found his calling. Gourmet food trucks. You know how talented he is with flavors. I knew how talented he was at burning through my money. The cannabis farm, the artisan pottery studio, the vintage clothing boutique, all ashes now. Elara, are you there? I'm here. My voice sounded hollow even to me. Oh good, I was worried we'd lost connection. Can you do the transfer today? The landlord won't hold the space past 5. I stared at the spreadsheet. When had I become this person? When had love transformed to a number on a screen growing larger, suffocating me one transaction at a time? I'll handle it, I heard myself say. You're such a good sister, we're so proud of you. The line went dead. I added a new row. October 15th, Leo, food truck kitchen, $15,000. My fingers hovered over the notes column wanting to type what I really thought. Instead, I initiated the transfer. That's when I saw it. A thick cream envelope on my desk, old-fashioned wax seal intact. No return address, just the embossed name of a law firm I didn't recognize. Bishop and Associates. I turned it over in my hands. The paper felt expensive, substantial, real, unlike everything else in my life lately. The wax cracked under my letter opener, releasing a faint scent of lavender. Inside, a single sheet of letterhead. Ms. Vance, your presence is requested regarding the estate of Evelyn Whitmore. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to discuss matters of significant personal interest. Eleanor Bishop. Evelyn Whitmore, my grandmother, dead 6 years, buried with the family secret that she'd left nothing behind but memories and mothballs. I read the letter again. Significant personal interest. Lawyers didn't use words like that unless they meant money. For the first time in years, I felt something crack in my chest. Not hope exactly, I'd learned better than that. But something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or just the faint possibility that somewhere in my DNA, someone had seen me as more than an ATM. I folded the letter carefully and slipped it into my purse. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow I'd call. Tonight, I had to go home and pretend the $15,000 hole in my account didn't feel like drowning. But as I locked my office, I couldn't shake the feeling that the cream envelope had arrived at exactly the right moment. Like my grandmother, 6 years dead, had been waiting for me to need her most. Eleanor Bishop's office smelled like leather and time. Law books lined every wall, their spines faded to the color of old blood. She sat across from me, 70-something years wrapped in steel-gray wool, studying me over wire-rimmed glasses. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, she said, sliding a folder across the mahogany desk, and very specific in her instructions. I opened the folder. Trust documents, account statements, numbers that made my breath catch, $187,000 and change. I don't understand. Mom told me there was nothing, that Grandma's nursing home ate through everything. Eleanor's mouth tightened. Your grandmother maintained this trust separately, secretly. She came to me 6 years before her death with very particular requirements. Requirements? The trust cannot be released freely. Eleanor adjusted her glasses and read from the will. This trust is to be released to my granddaughter, Elara Vance, only when she has demonstrated to the sole satisfaction of my executor the strength to sever the parasitic ties that inhibit her own well-being and live a life in accordance with her own values. The word parasitic hung in the air between us. My face burned. She knew? She knew many things. Eleanor reached into her desk and produced a sealed envelope. She left this for you as well, to be opened when you learned of the trust. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Grandma's handwriting, shaky but determined. My dearest Elara, they fear what you can become more than they love who you are. Find your strength. All my love, Grandma Evelyn. Tears blurred the words. She'd seen it. Seen what I'd been too afraid to name. How do I prove it? My voice cracked. How do I show you I've severed the ties? Eleanor leaned back. That, Ms. Vance, is entirely up to you. I am merely the observer. I left her office in a daze. The October rain had started turning Seattle into an impressionist painting. I sat in my car, reading Grandma's note again and again. They fear what you can become. My phone buzzed. Dad, I let it go to voicemail, then played it. Elara, your mother says you seemed distant on the call yesterday. We're worried about you. Also, I've been having these terrible back spasms. The doctor wants to try an experimental treatment, but insurance won't cover it. About 8,000. Call me back. 8,000. Always a crisis, always an emergency, always my responsibility. But now, there was $187,000 waiting for me. Grandma's money. Grandma's test. I pulled out my phone and opened the Vance ledger, added Dad's request to the growing list. Then, for the first time, I added a note. Experimental treatment. Need more information. It felt like revolution. That night, I called Marcus, my best friend since UW. He answered on the second ring, jazz playing in the background. What's wrong? You sound weird. How do you know something's wrong? Because you're calling me at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, and you never call unless someone's dead or you're having an existential crisis. Both, actually. I told him about the trust, the condition, the note. He whistled low. Your grandma was a boss, so what's the plan? I don't know. How do you prove you've cut ties with your own family? Maybe, Marcus said slowly, you start by finding out why she thought you needed to. Outside my window, Seattle glittered in the rain. Somewhere in this city, in a leather-bound office, Eleanor Bishop was waiting to judge if I was strong enough to claim my inheritance. I thought about Grandma's note, now tucked in my wallet like a talisman. Tomorrow, when Dad called about his treatment, I'd ask questions. Real questions. It wasn't much, but it was a start. You want the clinic's information? Dad's voice turned arctic. What, you don't trust me now? I gripped my phone, staring at the Vance ledger on my screen. It's not about trust. I just want to make sure the payment goes directly. I cannot believe this. His words sliced through my explanation. After everything we've done for you, the sacrifices we made, and now you're treating me like some kind of criminal? Dad, I didn't mean. Your mother is going to be heartbroken. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Mom called. I could hear her tears before she spoke. Elara, what have we done to deserve this? Your father is in pain, actual physical pain, and you're interrogating him like he's stealing from you. I just asked for the clinic's name. You might as well have slapped him. He's in the bedroom, won't even talk to me. 38 years of marriage and I've never seen him this hurt. The familiar guilt wrapped around my throat. Mom, I'll transfer the money. It's not about the money anymore. It's about trust. Family. Remember when you were little, how we always said family comes first? After she hung up, I sat in my office, numb. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Grandma's test was designed to fail. Maybe some ties couldn't be severed without destroying yourself in the process. 3 days later, the mail changed everything. The envelope was thin, official. From Paramount Collections, my name at the top, but I'd never heard of them. Inside, a final notice for $8,200, past due, for something called Artisan Coffee Roasters LLC. My blood turned to ice water. The LLC was registered to Leo. And there, in small print, my name as co-signer. I called the number on the notice. The representative was apologetic but firm. Yes, I was legally responsible. Yes, it would hit my credit if unpaid. Yes, the original loan was taken out 14 months ago. 14 months ago. When Leo had sworn he was done with crazy business ideas, when I'd been paying for his therapy and fresh start. The room spun. I pulled up my bank statements, cross-referencing dates. The pattern emerged like a photograph in developer fluid. Every time Leo had a crisis, every time Dad had a medical emergency, the amounts matched suspicious business registrations, matched defaulted loans, matched collection notices sent to addresses I'd never lived at. $8,200. The exact amount Dad needed for his experimental treatment. I threw up in my wastebasket. They weren't just taking my money, they were taking my money to pay off debts they'd created in my name. The manipulation was surgical, precise. A con game running so long I'd forgotten it had a beginning. I called Marcus. I need you to do what you do best. Investigative journalism? My family. Dig into everything. Financial records, business registrations, court documents, everything. Are you sure? Once you open that box? The box is already open, I just need to see how deep it goes. That night, I opened the Vance ledger and added a new column, verified use. Then I started making calls. The cannabis farm never existed. The pottery studio, registered to Dad, failed in 3 months. The vintage boutique, Leo's name on the lease, my signature forged as guarantor. Line by line, the truth emerged. I wasn't their safety net, I was their mark. Had been since the day I'd made my first 6 figures. Grandma had known. Somehow she'd known. I pulled out her note again, find your strength. For the first time I thought I might know where to look. Marcus showed up at my condo with 2 boxes of files and a grim expression. You're not gonna like this. We spread everything across my dining table. 20 years of public records, business licenses, court documents, a paper trail of destruction with my family's fingerprints all over it. Your dad's been running the same con since before you were born, Marcus said, sliding a folder toward me. 17 failed businesses. Every single one left investors holding the bag. I picked up a faded newspaper clipping. Local businessman faces fraud allegations. Dad's younger face stared back at me, that same charming smile. And here's the kicker. Marcus pulled out another document. There's a sealed civil suit from 8 years ago. Right around when you started your firm. Sealed? What does that mean? Means someone paid to make it go away. Want to guess when your parents suddenly needed that $50,000 for Leo's emergency surgery? I remembered that month, the panic in Mom's voice, the photos of Leo in a hospital bed. I'd emptied my savings. The surgery was real, Marcus said quietly, but it cost $12,000, not $50,000. The rest went to settling this lawsuit. I stared at the papers. Each revelation felt like peeling off my own skin. What about Chloe? Marcus hesitated. Your sister's interesting. No failed businesses, no lawsuits. But look at this. He showed me her social media from 5 years ago. Post after post about her successful boutique, her thriving online business, her entrepreneurial journey. I remember I gave her the startup money. Right, but check the business registration. It was never in her name, it was in your mom's, and it was dissolved after 6 months. Your sister never ran anything. She was just the face they used to get to your wallet. I thought about Chloe's tears, her grateful hugs, her promises to pay me back once she made it big. All performance. The Vance ledger lay open beside me. I'd been updating it obsessively, adding notes, cross-referencing with Marcus's finds. The pattern was undeniable. Every crisis carefully timed, every amount calculated to hurt but not break me. They'd been farming me like a renewable resource. There's more, Marcus said. That collection notice you got? It's not the only one. I found at least 6 others over the past 5 years, all sent to addresses you've never lived at. So they've been hiding. They've been destroying your credit behind your back while you rebuilt it with your payments. It's brilliant, actually. Keeps you successful enough to milk, but damaged enough to control. I walked to my window, staring out at the city lights. Below, Seattle went about its business, oblivious to the earthquake in my life. What do I do with this? Marcus joined me at the window. What did your grandma want you to do? Find your strength. I need more, I said. I need everything. Every loan, every lie, every forged signature. Can you get it? Give me 2 weeks, I'll get you enough evidence to bury them. After he left, I sat with the files, building my case like I'd build a client's portfolio. Methodical, emotionless, strategic. The Vance ledger had evolved from a record of pain to a weapon of truth, and I was just getting started. Chloe's call came on a Thursday. Her voice was warm, concerned, perfectly calibrated. Elara, I'm worried about you. This whole thing with Dad, can we talk? Just us sisters? I almost said no, but Marcus needed more time and I needed to see Chloe's mask slip. Okay. Come to Mom's on Saturday. I'll make that pasta you love. Just family, I promise. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling. I parked outside my childhood home, noting the new landscaping, my money at work. The door opened before I could knock. Chloe stood there in a cashmere sweater I'd bought her last Christmas, smiling like we were still 12 and 13, sharing secrets under blankets. I'm so glad you came, she said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like vanilla and lies. The house felt wrong immediately. Too many voices from the living room. I pulled back. You said just family. They are family. Her smile never wavered. Aunt Linda and Uncle Rob wanted to see you. You know how they worry. I followed her in, my spine already rigid. Mom sat in her favorite chair, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Dad stood by the fireplace like he was holding court. And there, on the couch, sat my aunt and uncle, my parents' eternal enablers. There she is, Uncle Rob boomed. Our successful girl, come sit. I remained standing. What is this? Mom's tears intensified. It's an intervention, sweetheart, because we love you. An intervention. The words tasted like ash. You've changed, Aunt Linda said. Become cold, materialistic. Your parents are beside themselves. I almost laughed. Materialistic, me? All you care about is money, Dad said, his voice dripping disappointment. Questioning every little thing we need, treating us like beggars instead of family. Richard's back is getting worse, Mom added, but now he won't even ask you for help because he's too hurt by your suspicions. They took turns, a well-rehearsed symphony of guilt. I was ungrateful. I was harsh. I was tearing the family apart with my accusations. Through it all, Chloe sat silent watching. Then she stood. Elara, she said, and her tears were perfect. Not too much, just enough to glisten. We know you think we use you, but we just need you. Is it so wrong to want your successful sister to help? She paused, letting the words sink in before delivering the killing blow. Why are you trying to tear this family apart with your accusations and your money? The room held its breath. They all watched me, waiting for me to crumble, to apologize, to open my wallet and my veins and bleed for them like always. But I was looking at Chloe. Really looking, seeing the calculation behind the tears, the subtle smirk at the corner of her mouth. She wasn't my baby sister anymore. Maybe she never had been. Wow, I said finally. You're good, really good. How long did you practice that? Her mask slipped for just a second, a flash of panic before the tears redoubled. I don't know what you mean, I'm just trying to save it. I picked up my purse. This was educational, thank you. Where are you going? Mom wailed. We're not finished. Yes, I said, reaching the door. We are. Behind me, Dad's voice turned hard. You walk out that door, Elara, and there will be consequences. I turned back. He stood silhouetted against the fireplace, no longer pretending to be the wounded father. I'm counting on it, I said and left. In my car, I texted Marcus. They just showed their hand, get me everything, fast. Monday morning, my biggest client sat across from me, his face grave. Tom Chen had built 3 unicorn startups, and I'd been managing his wealth for 5 years. He trusted me, or had. Elara, I got a concerning call over the weekend. My coffee turned bitter. A call? From someone claiming to be a family friend of yours. They suggested I should be worried about your firm's stability. Something about past financial troubles? Pattern of risky behavior? The room tilted. I gripped my desk. Tom, I told them to go to hell. He leaned forward, but then 2 other clients got similar calls. What's going on? I made a decision. My family is trying to blackmail me. I cut them off financially, and now they're trying to destroy my business. Tom studied me. Do you need help? I need you to trust me. Give me 1 week. He stood. You've made me millions, Elara. You've got your week. But if this escalates... It won't. That night, Dad called. No pretense now, no warmth, just ice. Impressive client list you have. Be a shame if they all got worried at once. What do you want? 50,000, cash, tomorrow. And you stop this nonsense about trust funds and investigations. Investigations? He chuckled. You think I don't know about your journalist friend poking around? That sealed lawsuit, Elara? People might ask questions about how a young financial advisor suddenly had money to start her own firm, about where that money really came from. My blood froze. He was implying I'd stolen from him, that my seed money, my legitimate savings was somehow dirty. You're insane. 50,000, or I start making calls, real calls, to the SEC, to the state licensing board. Sure, you'll probably win eventually, but by then? He paused. Well, reputation is everything in your business, isn't it? The line went dead. I sat in my dark apartment, the weight of it all crushing me. He'd found my weakness. Not my money, my reputation, my life's work, everything I'd built to escape them. On my coffee table sat 2 gift-wrapped boxes. Watches I'd bought for my parents' anniversary before everything went to hell, $10,000 in Swiss precision, sitting there like a mockery. I could pay him. Transfer the money, go back to the way things were. Live in my gilded cage, successful and hollow, funding their lives while they slowly strangled mine. My phone buzzed. Marcus, check your email. Now I opened his message. 20 attachments, business records, bank statements, and there, buried in the pile, a recorded conversation from 3 years ago. Dad, talking to someone about keeping Elara productive. Mom's voice in the background. She's good for at least $20,000 a month if we play it right. They'd been recorded by a disgruntled business partner Dad had screwed over. The man had sent it to Marcus, hoping for media coverage. I listened to my parents discuss me like a portfolio asset, calculating my worth, planning their moves. Chloe chiming in about needing startup funds for her fake boutique. Something snapped inside me, clean and final like a bone breaking. I picked up Grandma's note one more time. Find your strength. Found it, I whispered to her memory. Then I called Eleanor Bishop. I need to see you tomorrow, I said, and I need you to recommend a very specific kind of lawyer. What kind? The kind that makes problems like my family go away. Eleanor's voice warmed. I'll have someone meet us at 9. Elara? Yes? Your grandmother would be proud. I hung up and stared at the wrapped watches. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tonight, I had evidence to organize and a war to plan. The Vance ledger lay open on my laptop. $312,000 and counting. It was time to collect. They arrived at my office like they owned it. Dad strutted in first, followed by Mom clutching her purse, then Chloe in designer sunglasses, and finally Leo, looking confused as always. Elara, Dad said, settling into the client chair like a king on his throne. Ready to be reasonable? I'd arranged the conference room carefully. The gift-wrap boxes sat at the center of the table. Beside them, neat stacks of paper. Everything Marcus had found, everything I'd documented, my entire case. These are for you, I said, sliding the boxes toward my parents. Mom's eyes lit up. Oh, sweetheart, you didn't have to? Open them. They unwrapped the watches slowly. $10,000 of Swiss engineering gleamed under the office lights. Dad's face went through several expressions before settling on confusion. Anniversary gifts, I said calmly, for the parents I wished I had, the ones who might have loved me instead of seeing me as an ATM. Elara, Chloe started. I held up my hand. I'm talking. I opened the first folder. Let's discuss numbers. Mom, Dad, you've taken $186,000 over 10 years, not borrowed. Taken, because none of it was ever paid back. We're family. Mom's voice pitched high. Family helps. Leo. I turned to my brother. 93,000. For businesses that failed, treatments that didn't exist, emergencies you created. I slid a paper toward him. This is the loan you took out in my name. Fraud, by the way. A felony. Leo went pale. I didn't. Dad said it was okay. Of course he did. I faced my sister. Chloe, 33,000. For your boutique that never existed, your online business that was a fantasy. Your tears that were rehearsed. Her mask finally cracked. You bitter? I'm not done. I spread out the rest of the documents. 17 failed businesses, Dad. 43 investors left holding worthless paper. 1 sealed lawsuit that cost me $50,000 to make disappear, though you told me it was for Leo's surgery. The room had gone silent, except for the rain against the windows. The total, I said, voice steady as granite, is $312,852, plus the damage to my credit from 6 hidden defaults, plus the clients you tried to scare away, plus 20 years of emotional manipulation disguised as love. I pulled out the final folder. This is a cease and desist order. You will have no further contact with me. Any attempt will result in prosecution for fraud, forgery, and extortion. Yes, Dad, I recorded your threat. Yes, I have lawyers. Good ones. You can't. Dad stood, face purple. I can. I have, and there's more. I smiled, and it felt like freedom. Grandma left me a trust. You told me she died with nothing, but she left me $187,000, with one condition: that I find the strength to cut you off. Consider this my graduation ceremony. Mom was sobbing now, real tears for once. Evelyn? She wouldn't. She did. She saw what you were doing to me, and she gave me a way out. I stood, gathering my papers. The trust money will fund the Evelyn Foundation for Independent Youth, for people like me, trapped by family members who see love as a transaction. Grandma's final gift won't just save me, it'll save others. Please, Chloe said, desperation cracking her voice. We're family. No, I said. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't threaten to destroy careers. Family doesn't keep a running tab on love. I moved toward the door. Security will escort you out, don't come back. Dad's final words chased me. You'll regret this. You'll be alone. I turned back one last time. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by parasites. The door closed on their shouting. On my past, on the woman who'd bled herself dry for their approval. In my office, I opened the Vance ledger one last time and typed, account closed. 6 months later, the turkey came out perfect, golden brown and fragrant with herbs. I'd never cooked Thanksgiving dinner before. That had always been Mom's domain, with me writing the check for groceries. Smells amazing in here, Marcus said, carrying in another bottle of wine. His partner James followed with homemade rolls. Eleanor Bishop sat at my dining table, looking softer than she ever had in her office. Your grandmother's stuffing recipe? Modified, I admitted. Less guilt, more sage. The condo buzzed with warmth. Jessica, my former assistant turned partner in the firm, arranged flowers while debating politics with Henry, the chef from the youth shelter where I volunteered. My cousin Rachel, who'd escaped her own toxic family dynamics, helped pour drinks. A toast, Marcus announced once everyone had gathered. To chosen family. To Grandma Evelyn, Eleanor added, raising her glass to the photo on the mantel. We drank, and I felt the truth of it settle in my bones. This was family. People who showed up without calculating the return on investment. People who loved without keeping score. The Evelyn Foundation had launched 3 months ago. 22 young adults had already received grants to escape financial abuse. Their thank you letters covered my refrigerator, each one a reminder that breaking free was possible. How's the book coming? I laughed. Slowly. Turns out writing about emotional terrorism is harder than living through it. The working title's still The Vance Ledger? Marcus grinned. Actually, I'm thinking, Find Your Strength. Seems more hopeful. My phone sat silent on the counter. I'd changed my number after the restraining orders were filed. Dad had tried suing me, of course. It went nowhere. The evidence was too damning, my lawyers too good. Last I heard, they'd moved to Arizona, probably looking for fresh marks. Sometimes late at night I wondered if I missed them. Then I'd remember the weight of that spreadsheet, the years of calculated crises, the way love had become a debt I could never repay. You okay? Eleanor asked quietly. Yeah, I said, and meant it. Just thinking. Your grandmother used to get that same look. Usually right before she did something revolutionary, I smiled. She would have liked this, all of it. She would have loved it. Eleanor corrected. She would have loved seeing you for. After dinner, I stood on my balcony despite the November chill. Seattle glittered below, full of possibility. Somewhere out there, another young woman was probably transferring money to family members who saw her as a resource rather than a person. But also out there, the Evelyn Foundation waited to help her find her strength. I raised my wine glass to the city lights, to the grandmother who'd seen me clearly, to the future I'd claimed with my own hands. Thank you, I whispered to the night. Inside, my chosen family laughed around my table. The sound wrapped around me like a blanket, warm and real and mine. I'd spent $312,862 learning the difference between love and manipulation. Worth every penny. The scars from a toxic family can feel permanent, and the guilt can be suffocating. But my grandmother taught me that our greatest strength is often forged in our deepest wounds. You cannot change the people who hurt you, but you have the absolute power to change your own story. Take your pain, your resilience, and your truth, and build a future they can no longer touch. Your survival is your victory, and your peace is your ultimate inheritance. Find your strength and use it to write your own, more beautiful ending.